Our request at the moment is to create the most awesome camper van. We are basically squeezing a super yacht into a van. That is the plan. And we find that we're having to fabricate everything ourselves, and this week is no exception.
Our last video showed us build a jig and laminate a huge curved bulkhead panel for our bathroom. Today is a one chance affair to cut a hole out for the door. We've also got 2 marine hatches from Lewmar to fit, a bit of varnishing, and Chris's biggest veneer job to date with American black walnut. So let's see where Chris is at right now.
We don't want to have straightforward square doors, that would just be boring, right? So came up with a curve that we thought would be cool. So basically that's what we're going to put on the top. This is penciled out where I want my door line, and now I'm just going to clamp that on there. From that I'm going to cut with a router template cutter, but I don't want to go all the way through because this is about 27 mil, which is a lot to take in one pass with a router. So I'm going to do it with a short shanks bit with a bearing follower. So it's a template cutter, and then we'll go through with a deeper one. At least that's how the plan goes. So we're going to do the top and the bottom like this. That sounds quite simple, but the problem we would have would be the router would want to rock. And we also don't want the router to rock this way. So it will rock this way on the curve and this way between the jig and this, the base that is. So in order to try and sort that out, no surprises, we've made a jig for that too. That started out as a piece of offcut from one of these straight edges. Then I just cut the curve around there to get the shape that we need. From that, we've got them on here, and one is a different thickness to the other one. That's to account for this. So basically now we put the thick one on here to account for that difference. And now we've got something that the router's got a good base, so we can move it around. What's really cool is what we can see in here, this is the laminate that we did a while back. This is 5 sheets of flexible plywood, and you know, I was really not worried but wanting to make a good job of the epoxy that's inside there. It's basically, if you put too much epoxy in, it starts to swell and you get bulbousness everywhere, and if you don't get enough epoxy in there, well, you end up with hollows, and that's even more worse because it bounces. But we've got a really good lamination, which is good. So this is just a jig which I've knocked up by cutting these bits off a previous jig, which is what we used to make this former. So basically, if you've made a form, you can reuse the jigs through the whole process. Yeah, so let's slide this in, and this is basically a bed for this whole system to lie on. One shot of air coming up right now. Let's get this track saw going. Going to do the door side first and then move it back over and get the thickness we need to put the beads in. Let's see how it goes. So the track saw, basically, it's just a circular saw, and it has a track that it sits on. It's quite fancy, and we use them all the time, and it's been like one of those things we didn't have for ages, and when we got one, I was like, that's the best thing ever. But if you don't have a track saw and you want to do something like this, it's no big deal. You just clamp a straight edge, a piece of aluminium, or, you know what I mean, there's a piece of, this is for the bed that we've been making as well. It's an aluminium bed going in, and just a piece of anything which is straight angled with a thickness to it is pretty good. And you clamp that to it and then run your circular saw, the fence of the saw along it, get a straight line. Okay, good. I've purposely left a little bit on there So when I do the other side, it ain't moving around too much, and we'll cut that out by hand. And just like that, we have the door. We're steaming again. That's now machined down 7mm that walnut. And what I'm going to do is use this thing. It looks like a dog. I really like it. It's super cheap. It's like £20. It's the smallest power, but it works fine. It's really good for steaming on the hop because you don't need a huge steam box. And straight into this sort of food bag. It's a vacuum packed food bag. Just a hose in there, cable tied on there, and then into a bucket of water. The reason we drop it into a bucket of water is because it creates a seal, which means that it inflates and we get a bit of pressure, but not too much pressure. So I'm going to slide that in there and then leave it for about, I think probably half an hour this piece, because walnut does not like steaming. And it's quite a strange thing, steaming, because you can over steam, and that's when the timber starts to get brittle. And of course if you under steam, well, that don't work too well either. And so basically that's how it is. And we also don't want it to lie in its own water. You see the colour of the water that comes out. It's like a browny colour. That's the tannins. You can see it in the bottom of the bag there, 'cause you can reuse the bags. It's the tannins just coming out of the timber. So half an hour in there. It'll still be tough to steam this round because it's not that flexible stuff. Anyone who saw the step video when we made the bent lamination, steam bent thing for that, we steamed up I don't know how many pieces of timber for that and bent them all at once. Anyway, that was walnut. It worked out. This will be tougher because it's thicker. One is a lot easier than the other. Beautiful. Happy days. She's in. Leave that for a few hours. So pretty excited. We're getting a step closer to the actual veneer. In fact, that's the next job. So I'm just going to do this. This is basically all these parts we steamed on. This has got no clamping pressure anymore, so we can just do this with masking tape. And that's how we'll glue the whole thing together. So I'm going to use epoxy to do this. You could use like PVAs or whatever you want. I'm using epoxy for a couple of reasons. Basically, this is a shower cabinet, so I want it to be waterproof. I don't want to have to be worrying about things later. And I think it's important that we don't need to worry about glues and things coming apart later. So we also have an abundance of entropy, which is my epoxy flavor of choice. It's quite good to use bio-friendly stuff, in my opinion. It makes us feel good about ourselves, and with the boat that we're building and our sort of plan with all that, being sustainable, or as sustainable as we can be, makes us feel good about ourselves. So I'm just going to clag this on there. And that's that really. While I'm doing this, Jenny's on working on parts of the bed frame, which is probably, I don't think we'll do an episode on that, but it is pretty cool. It's been like a big project. I'll tell you a little bit about it. It's been it's like an aluminium frame we've made to go inside of a steel frame that runs up and down on runners and linear bearings and one thing and another. So that's been pretty cool. And in order to make sure that is at the fully upright position in all four corners when we want to lock it, we've had to make like a system to control the height of each corner. So Jenny's working on basically 2 or 4 cars that go inside the mechanism to make that work. So it's pretty cool. It is pretty cool. So she's away working on those nylon runners. Now I've got to get this right. That's going to go there, that's going to go there, somewhere middle for diddles about there. Let's see. So we're nearly there, and the next step is, the next step is basically me getting ready to do the biggest lamination. Well, I'm not getting ready to. The next step is me actually laminating it, and I think that's actually going to be the biggest, or it's definitely the most complex veneering that I've ever done, because we've got to go round a corner. We've had to joint 2 pieces of wood together, so that's difficult in itself to get a good joint on the veneer. And then, because you can't get veneer that size, and then we've got a door to veneer and the side panel, so it's going to be a pretty cool challenge, that's for sure. Pretty excited about it, quite looking forward to that challenge, and at the same time quite nervous about that challenge, but what can you do? Well, I think that's that. Let's call that a night. Side panels to go on once they're trimmed off, and then we're right into veneer country. Okay, so another day, another job. We're on with the hatches today, going in the roof. These are Lewmar pilot hatches. I think we've talked about these before. Super cool, super exciting. These things slide. So unlike most marine hatches which pop open, they slide. Let me show you this. So basically this is the Lewmar Ocean hatch as per normal. With a different latch on it, which flips it open into event mode. You can lock it in 2 positions, and basically it slides backwards and forwards on their runner systems, which are these things. So it's the same runners that they use for like the sailing boats on the jib cars. That's the foresails that slide backwards and forwards on them, or maybe even your mast goes up, the mainsail goes up and down the mast on them. Really, really cool. Obviously built to take an absolute mega storm, which is just what you need in a van, right? So perfect. Actually, the reason we've got them on is they're going to slide backwards and forwards underneath the roof rack when we build back, because we won't be able to pop it up. So I think they're really, really cool. So that's what's going on here. The reason we're doing that today is it's because it's raining. We can't do the veneering today, so find something else we can do. And given that the glues that we're using go off in moisture, perfect day for it. So I've made these out of nylon there to sort of take the shape of the van, and we're going to use 2 different glues today, both from Seeker actually. This one is Elastomer 710, which is basically butyl rubber, so it never goes off. It's like super stretchy. So this is really good if you've got anything that's moving, like, and so decks on boats tend to move, and coach roofs do actually move a little bit, unless you've got like a solid aluminium or steel thing. They tend to move a lot, and especially with heat expansion and contraction of like the hatches, like this sort of thing as well, they're all moving a little bit in heat. So this allows that movement. The other beauty of it is, it means that when you need to get them out, it just pops out easily. So we're going to use that to seal the hatch to the roof, which means we could get it out in case we ever damaged the glass in these and we needed to change them. So that's handy. And then we're going to use this, which is 291i? Yeah. Just thought it was, because it could have been 292, but it's not. We're using 291i. This is the same as what comes in this style. It's just a bit more, I guess, commercial like that. I don't know. But this is super strong. It's polyurethane based. This goes hard, and I'm basically going to use this to glue the nylon to the van, because that should never need to come out. So that's that basically. This will stick to nylon, as it does sort of, you know, through holes that we put on, plastic through holes on boats and things like that. It's really, really good. But it won't stick to the likes of HDPE, you say polyethylenes and things like that are too slippy. So be careful of your plastics that you're using it with. There we go. So I'm just going to seal this. Oh man, the problem with this stuff is it's super stringy, but it doesn't stick to your fingers, so that's a good thing. Dust. We're obviously in a bit of a dusty environment here. There's dust everywhere. We've already prepped this once the other day, and then in no time at all it's just covered in dust. So we'll just do it again. I'm learning to be a little bit less bothered by all of that. That's okay. Boatyards are dusty, but this is another level, eh? Okay. So these guns, I really like these guns. They're pretty good. Sadly, they still come with a plastic nozzle, which actually works really well because it's polypropylene, which Seeker doesn't stick to, so it lasts forever. They do come with a bunch of nozzles for every one of these, but basically buying it in the sausage format is cheaper, and it has a lot less plastic, which is pretty good. So that just sits on there. Here goes on there. It's quite nice that that's the only bit of foil waste there. Right.
People tell me where to go. I'm not afraid to step outside and see the world for what it is. No, spending all my time with people that I barely know. You may have thought that I was lost, and all I need is room to grow. I'm coming home to put a flower in your hand. Thought you should know. I'd rather be instead.
Okay, so now the door is absolutely finished. It's got the side battens on. It's fitted in here beautifully, and of course we've actually had the hinges on this as well. I've taken the hinges off again and placed the door back in here, ready for the veneering. It's lined up with its hinge marks, so we know that it's good to go. And now we're basically ready to start the veneer. The veneer is massive. It's like nearly 2 meters by 2 meters square. It's had to be jointed together, 2 sheets of veneer, to make this even possible. That's had to be done twice, which makes me a little nervous because it's a bit wrinkly and wobbly now. And the reason for that is because the weather wasn't right in Scotland, so we had to leave it, and now it's gone a bit wobbly. We've had to rejoin it this morning, and I'm just kind of hoping it's going to work, to be honest. But we're going to give it a shot. So the next plan is to basically use some fancy glues, slap it on here, slap it on there. It works with a contact if you like, but it's quite a flash one. And we have to make sure that it doesn't touch anywhere. until it's time for it to touch. Otherwise, it's a whole pickle and it's ruined, I believe. So, a little nervous, but let's get going, eh? I don't think there's much you can do other than give it a shot.
We laid battens over the door to prevent the veneer touching the door before it was in the right position, as when this contact adhesive meets each other, they are not budging. So you only get one chance to get it in the right place and avoid any air bubbles.
Just coming past the door now, and you'd be really careful that I don't break the veneer here. Okay, so that's pretty much on. We've got quite a lot of temperature today. It's 25 degrees, quite a lot of temperature. It's hot, that's the other way of saying that. But basically, we're a little bit rushed, not too much. So I'm just going to cut this off so we can get it laid up. I'm using a knife to get started. We don't have a veneer saw, so I'll use a hacksaw blade so that it's pulling down. Of course, we'll do this with a plane later. We do have the door. Okay, so it's time to take the tape off. See if this join worked out after all that work.
Start this end or go from here?
Yeah, it's fine, yeah. Oh gosh, this is nerve-wracking, isn't it? Well, that's better than the factory joints. Perfect. I did not expect that. I didn't expect that at all.
How lush is this? I cannot believe that we achieved it. And the veneer as well. I can't believe we pulled it off. The climate in Scotland was forever changing, and it was definitely Chris's biggest veneer job, and we nailed it. Well, I think we did. So this is currently between varnishing stages. It's actually had 3 or 4 coats of varnish so far, and it's currently in between, which is why it's sort of chalky, dusty. Chris will be on and off doing the last few coats of that throughout the next few weeks. We've got a little magnetic catch here. Check it out. And I don't know if you've heard about sauce hinges, but these are pretty good hinges when you've got like a curve and the sort of hinges like really on show. This is really effective in that, and we managed to source them and they're looking really great. So I'm super excited. Yeah, I can't quite believe that we managed to pull it off. So the final coat is going to be something like, it's not going to be shiny, which I'm really pleased about because I was a bit worried about how dark it was going to be in here. But I'm going to hop out and show you what it's actually going to be like. So this step has had this effect finished. So I don't know if you can see on the camera, but it's like more like a satin effect. This is called a rubbed finish. How it's achieved, I don't know, because it starts shiny and then ends up looking like this, like nice kind of matte satin, which I'm super excited about. So that's all coming together really nicely. And for those who know us and who are getting to know us, you'll know that Chris and I love adventure and the freedom that comes along with that. And so as we've been stuck in the shed building the van, for greater adventures, we've been planning some little adventures while we're here in Scotland, which is going to be great. We've got one that we're planning, which is going to be through the Scottish hills, over some like tidal waters to the far and beyond to test some gear that we've got. So that will be coming up soon, which we can't wait for. But next time, we're going to be at a big boat show where we go around and find some pretty cool things for the boat that we're building. So if you don't know about the boat, you can check out that video here. And yeah, we show you some stuff that we're pretty keen on for the boat. And one of those things we might throw in the van as well. So stay tuned and we'll see you then.